Hello, everybody. This is JonnY with KjmO, Dark Night Radio. How are y'all doing? So, this episode is called In Appreciation because sometimes, as people get older, they can get a little bitter and they're in pain or have various problems or whatever. And that has happened to me. 67, going on 68 at the end of December. At times, I've been through a lot of pain, and I have a disability which I need to do, which maybe wouldn't be a disability had I done more rehab over the last 10 years. So I have to try to do that again and try to get serious. It has to do with my back and some discs that dissolved, and the fact that I've hunched over when I walk, which I despise that, and it's embarrassing and everything, but I just try to live my life the best way I can. But the thing is that at times I've had serious leg problems and various other health issues, probably like as big as an encyclopedia, I suppose, as that many issues. However, I'm still alive, I'm still breathing, and so many people that I used to know aren't. And I don't know where they are. I hope they're in a better place. That's what people want to believe. And they may very well be. I mean, I believe in some kind of spirit world. I don't know I don't think it's a god that looks like Captain Kangaroo. That was a TV show we used to watch in the early 60s about a sort of a middle-aged guy with gray hair and a mustache and a little bit heavy, and he had sort of a carnival jacket on. And he looked like, he could be a really friendly god, Captain Kangaroo. But I have a feeling that God doesn't look like Captain Kangaroo. I think God just might be everything and in everything that we touch. Something had to make this place, for better or for worse. And there are a lot of worse things. I mean, the greatest cause of death is life. Animals eating each other, people wanting more space, killing each other in wars. There's all kinds of horrible, nasty things out there. But there's also, and this is what I have to remind myself constantly, there's also the beauty of a simple thing like waking up, and that's not that simple. If you're lucky to wake up and look outside and there's a blue sky, and if you happen to be in some sort of exotic place, whatever, you open the curtains and stand on this deck, and you look out at these chalk white cliffs, and the cliffs are made of marble, and it's in a place called Carrara in Italy, across the Mediterranean, a part of the Mediterranean. So you're looking up from this deck and this incredible villa that your friend's father is renting because he works for somebody or some organization related to NATO in Italy, northern Italy, and you're up there visiting, and you're on this deck, and you look out at these chalk white cliffs at Carrara, and that's where they get the marble to make. That's where they get marble. It goes all over the world. So that's just one tiny example. Or rolling through the Colorado or the Canadian Rockies and the majestic heights of the beauty of the blue sky and the big mountains. Anyway, the list goes on and on and on. It's just sometimes when a person gets bitter as we get older, or even younger people, and when, the life just seems really snagged and it's not going anywhere. And if you happen to be, one of the so-called, and I think maybe there's a lot more to it than so-called, but if you happen to be I'll put it like this, having one of the lucky ones that gets to live, past their middle age and their older age, like I have done, then you can appreciate the joy even more. I mean, the earth is God knows how many countless surprises I'll never get to see in my life. But with the coolness of the time we live in, through the internet and through being able to be with people in all parts of the world now, and if they shine their phone, if you're out there talking to them on Google Meet or Zoom or something, and they pan their phone around the harbor or someplace, and you get to see all the ships wherever they are, or all kinds of incredible things. I mean, or what the carnival is like in Rio de Janeiro, if they're, in a house and the parades are going by, or in New Orleans or whatever during Mardi Gras. So you get to actually be there in actual time. It's not the same as really being there, but at least you get to share with your friend, the moment where he is, and then you can come back with something yourself where you are. So it's a very special time that we're living in. I mean, this was stuff that was totally in cartoons like the Jetsons when I was growing up. This never occurred. I mean, I remember totally when I got my first answering machine in 1987. And that was like a big deal. Or call waiting was a big deal. I mean, the idea of seeing somebody on your phone was like Star Trek stuff, the advanced future. I never would have thought, it would have been in the times that I lived in. And so that's all I'm saying, really, is there's a lot of reasons. Like, for instance, when I was coming up, and it was like 18, 19, 20, early 20s, I had this stepfather. Not a stepfather, he was a foster father. I met him when I was 18, when I was in Oregon, and he used to take in a lot of people, younger people like me, or even much younger. Sort of like gave him a little bit of stability, like a kind of an older male influence. His name was Big Earl Bemis, and he was quite a character. We used to call him the bald-headed bastard. And he was definitely, he had his, I don't know, he was crazy. I think he maybe killed somebody. I think he was maybe the hangman in Washington. I don't know. He did different things to survive. He was in the Merchant Marines in World War II. He drove a truck. He was a sheep herder. He taught me how to pick salal and huckleberry and fern brush, and tried to teach me automobile mechanics and things like that, which I wasn't any good at. But Big Earl had his little tricks too, and he had a cousin that was an undertaker. And his cousin, I met him once, Dean, and he swore that he embalmed Walt Disney as a training thing, and I don't even want to believe that. I mean, here I am, a little kid watching, the Disney Hour, in the early 60s, and then I'm talking to somebody's cousin who said he embalmed Walt Disney. Oh my God, I don't even want to think about that. Anyway, Dean would say about Earl, that Big Earl, he'd say, Big Earl's so crooked that if I have to deal with him, if I have to bury him, I'm going to have to screw him into the ground. So, that was Big Earl. But Earl was also one of the most incredible, wonderful people I ever met in my life. And when my 15-year-old dog died, I was with him. I was buried her on this property he was renting in the middle of the coastal range, by this creek that ran into a river that ran into the ocean. My dog was a water dog, a lab setter. And R.L. Burnside was with me. He was on we were on our second tour together out west, and he was with me when I had to euthanize my dog, and then he was with me when I buried her. And Earl wasn't there, but then Earl showed up, and he looks at the hole, and he goes, "What you doing, digging a hole size for a battleship?" So even in that sad time, he made this joke, because he really loved Cindy. But after I buried my dog, then I think I mentioned this in your video, so forgive me for being redundant, but I went into the trailer where Earl was living, and Earl and I went in, and I fried oysters for those guys, and gave me a thing of oysters to fry. And meanwhile, they're splitting shots of maddeningly more whiskey. or something, and telling stories. This older black man that was also kind of like dad to me, or he was like almost 30 years older than me, and Big Earl. And my own father had passed away right away, passed away when I was 10 years old, so this meant a lot to me. He unfortunately died of a heart attack, and one day he left for work and just never came back. And, a lot of people have gone through this, so, it's just what happened, unfortunately. He was a really great guy, but his name was Jack Nirenberg. Anyway, back to Big Earl and RL. Yeah, they're telling stories, and no racist kind of sentiment, no anything there from a guy that would be raised from around that time where it was supposed to be really heavy racist in this country in the 40s and 50s and stuff and before. And so it was a very sad night, but a very special night to see how those guys got along. So I just one more thing, that a wonderful memory, sad, bittersweet memory. But when I think of these things, I want to be thinking like that, and not just about all the crummy things that have happened and have that all pile up. That kind of stuff makes you dizzy, especially when you get older. So that's what this is about today, an appreciation of being alive for all those that came before me and that left before me. I want to thank you all so much. It was a fine pleasure to meet you. And someday, in that crazy spirit world, we'll find each other again. So, good night, everybody. Good afternoon, good morning, good day. Be safe out there, and thank you for listening. So long, everyone.